Welcome to the McAleese and show this morning.
I'm good.
I heard that's where I'm good. Since you guys got here, the room is packed. I'm delighted. It's going to be a fast-paced schedule today. We've basically broken the briefings up into about 30-minute blocks, right? The most critical thing we're going to have is in terms of today will be staying on schedule. And I did also want to thank General Steve Munt. Where are you, sir? Right? He'll be jumping back and forth in terms of the moderating today. And I know this is the most bizarre comment I'm going to make, but since you guys have gotten here this morning, I've gotten the most amount of compliments about this.
It isn't even Jim.
And so we'll be raffling these off later tonight. All right? Please, I'm going to make this very, very short. We're going to have 3 Army briefings today. Mike Murray's going to kick it off. Everybody knows who he is. Then we're going to drive into Secretary McCarthy mid-morning, and then we're going to finish up with Dr. Chetty early afternoon. And he did tell me to make it very short, so please welcome General Mike Murray.
So thanks, everybody. And somehow, knowing Jim, I doubt that's the most bizarre comment he's going to make today. So, as Jim said, a half hour, and really, you're going to have the meat of the Army with Secretary McCarthy. Just finished up some really good testimony yesterday with the HASC, and so I'm really looking forward to hearing what Secretary McCarthy had to say. And thanks for coming out this morning. As you know, Army Futures Command is in Austin, and there's nothing in Austin that starts this early, so I appreciate you coming out. And I'm going to spend probably about 15, 20 minutes, and I'll try to save some time for questions. But I'm going to go through some things here really quick. And as most of you understand, Army Futures Command is about 18 months old. August of 18 is when we stood up. And I'm really, really proud of the AFC team, not only in Austin, but really across the country and the partners we have. And most of you know, and I'm really happy that Bruce Jetty is going to get a chance to talk to you, key partner in everything we do. And that's really the most powerful lesson I think that we've learned in the 18 months is the intersection of requirements in the acquisition community and the power that really brings. And it's really amazing what you can accomplish when you don't worry about who gets credit. And most of you have heard from General McConville. General McConville is very proud of saying winning matters. And I'll just take that one step further in context of this and a couple other things throughout the morning. Is winning matters, but winning together matters more. The other key thing that we're really, really proud of is the Army Modernization Strategy, which was published last October in conjunction with the annual convention, AUS annual convention. It really begins to match ends, ways, and means, and it talks about not only what we'll fight with, the material piece of it, but it talks about how we'll fight, multi-domain operations, the concept, and then also who we are. So it links our people strategy in that concept as well. One of the key things that I've been pushing pretty recently and pretty consistently is this concept of persistent modernization. And we talk about culture change and the necessary culture change in the Army. And I really think persistent modernization is part of that. And it means nothing more than we've got to recognize that modernization never really ends. It never really begins, never really ends. It's not episodic. It has to be persistent and consistent to accomplish what we're going to do. And if we ever get back to episodic modernization, my belief is we'll find ourselves right where we are today 30 years from now. So, and like I said, modernization in AFC is much more than material, but unfortunately or fortunately, DC is a truck town and this is a truck audience, so I'm going to focus on really the cross-functional teams and the 31 signature systems you've heard the Secretary talk about, and I always add +3. And it's, I don't know if Neil Thorogood's here, but it's the RCCTO and the things that Neil Thorogood is walking on is the +3. So I fundamentally believe that people don't recognize how much progress has been made in just the last couple years and what a fast track the Army is on. So I'm going to run through some things. Long-range precision fires are number one modernization priority. A couple signature systems. IRCA is the extended range cannon artillery, and it is a PIM chassis with a 58 caliber tube added to it. We have successfully shot an artillery round 70 kilometers, doubling the range of that artillery round. And we've shot with precision Excalibur 63 kilometers. So significant new ranges are being achieved, and we will field IRCA in FY23, and that's really 5 years from start to finish in terms of fielding, from idea to fielding in 5 years. The precision strike missile is the ATACMS replacement. One of the key things that people often don't recognize about precision strike missile is same launcher, so we're not buying new launchers, so it's the HIMARS and MLRS platforms, and it is 2 missiles per pod, so we're doubling the loadout of the ATACMS and really the launchers. We have shot PRISM missiles successfully. One of the vendors has 240 kilometers, and it was 240 because of the range restrictions. And we will very, very soon demonstrate in a post-INF environment the ability to shoot beyond 500 kilometers with planned increments to really achieve a multi-domain seeker in PRISM and then continue to extend the range of the PRISM missile. And then I mentioned, Neil, key effort from the RCCTO, the Rapid Capabilities and Critical Technologies Office, is our hypersonics work. And nobody that reads any of the defense publications does not know that there is a significant amount of money being invested in hypersonics. So we will field a battery in FY23 of hypersonic missile capability with stay-behind operational capability. And Neil's job, and he's doing a phenomenal job of that, is really pull things out of S&T and get them fielded. And we've been working hypersonics since the 90s. So this was getting it out of S&T and fielded to our soldiers. Next generation combat vehicle, a couple key efforts. Most of you are tracking on the restart on the optionally manned fighting vehicle, the Bradley replacement. We got to the point where we realized that we were asking industry to do something that was going to be very, very difficult. And so I actually see it as a positive that we took a pause and a tactical restart. And we have restarted that effort. The Bradley replacement remains critical to everything we're trying to do. So we remain fully committed to the Bradley program. We are restarting it, and we've restarted it with a list of 9 characteristics. And notice I did not say requirements. 9 characteristics for the vehicle we're looking for. The dialogue with industry has begun, and we will go through a series of steps in terms of virtual and then actual prototyping with soldiers involved. So soldiers in virtual prototypes providing us and the engineers feedback on what that vehicle should look like. Actual prototypes with soldiers involved. I call it soldier-centered design. Before we ever publish a set of requirements. And that's the way forward. And that process has begun, and we're asking a lot. The chief has talked about transformational capability in terms of the next infantry fighting vehicle. That's the path we're on. We've also next month, I think it's next month, might be this month, doing some experimentation at Fort Carson, Colorado with both the light and medium remote combat vehicles, or robotic combat vehicles, with 2 learning objectives. One is to begin to learn about the robotic vehicles themselves and everything that goes along with them. And the second one, and probably in my mind at least as important, if not more important, what that does to the way we will fight in the future. If there's one thing that's coming, and it is coming, that I think will fundamentally change the way that we fight in the future, it is the use of autonomous and robotic vehicles in our formations. And then, of course, later this year, we'll see the first prototypes of mobile protective firepower. Future vertical lift, the number 3 priority. We've successfully, as most of you have seen, both of the tech demonstrators have flown. Both of the tech demonstrators have flown at speeds that exceed and ranges that exceed our current aviation fleet, and we will accelerate that program. And then future attack reconnaissance aircraft, 5 OTAs. We will down select to 2 sometime this month, and we will proceed with the future attack reconnaissance aircraft, or better known as FARA. Both those capabilities, and we don't even call them helicopters. They are not helicopters. This is the future of vertical flight, and we will field both those platforms projected at this point prior to 2030. And we're also working future UAS, a shadow replacement, so a runway independent unmanned aerial system. We fielded 5 brigades worth of 5 different types of future UASs, 5 different vendors. And that's all designed to getting back to that soldier-centered design to get feedback back from our soldiers before we ever write that requirements document. We have agreed to buy Spike Enlos from the Israelis, and we've started a program to develop our own organic, really extended range munition for aircraft. The Spike Enlos shots we have taken exceed current capabilities by 4 times, and we'll field 4 brigades, 4 aviation brigades worth of Spike Enlos in the next 4 years, and that's complete fielding in the next 4 years. The network, really the backbone of everything we do. What I'm probably most proud about the network is we realized right up front that we'll never be done with the network. Network can't be something that starts and ends, and so we're doing in 2-year capability sets. Capability set 21, remarkably, we'll field in 21. We've locked down the hardware. We will lock down the software that will be part of Cape Set 21 very quickly, simultaneously working Cape Set 23. The capabilities are going to Cape Set 23. And then when we're locked down 23, we'll begin to work on Cape Set 25. So a series of upgrades to the networks over time. We have fielded command post computing environment, which is, for lack of a better term, the Army's iPhone. And so if you go into a command post right now, you will see a number of server stacks and a number of different mission command systems, each independent operating systems. Command post computing environment brings that all together, and things like AFATEDS, which is our fires application, becomes an app. Common maps across all systems. I think I see General Corelli, so even better than CPOF. ITN, Integrated Tactical Network, that has been designed by soldiers for soldiers from the very beginning. 1st 82nd was the brigade that deployed to Iraq here recently. They were our experimental brigade. They demanded they take ITN with them, and we sent that with them. It's really taking what we had in the network, because we have invested a large amount of money in the network over time and improving it through commercial solutions, commercial applications over time. So we continue to improve ITN. SBU is a key part of that. That is secure but unclassified, and it's just a TTP. So the realization that the time value of information at the lowest tactical levels is probably not worth securing. And I thought the NSA was going to have an issue with that. Actually, the NSA says you're probably better off not providing secure communications at the lowest tactical levels, which opens up, amazingly, things like Wi-Fi, 5G when it comes, 4G LTE to our tactical units, which is greatly increasing the resilience and the security of the networks. And finally, mounted within the network, APNT. So 2 systems, MAPS, a mounted assured positioning system, and the DAPS, the dismounted assured positioning system. Fielded capability from the mounted side to 2nd Stryker Cavalry Regiment in Germany in 2 years. Need to fielding in 2 years, and greatly increases the availability and really the security and the reliability of the GPS signal. And within that same line of effort, obviously working M-code and obviously working alternate forms of assured position navigation and timing. Air missile defense, the intermediate maneuver range, or maneuver short range air defense system, Stryker chassis, variety of effectors. 2018 prototype delivery last December. 2018 was when the statement of need. So 3 years from requirement to fielding, and we will field 4 battalions of IM SHORAD by 23, and then in 24 back to the RCCTO. Neil Thorogood is working on a 50 kilowatt laser right now that we will integrate onto the platforms beginning in 2024. The future, I firmly believe the future of air defense is not solely directed energy, but directed energy will have a large part in the future of air defense. The soldier lethality, our number 6 priority. Really the first thing we saw was enhanced night vision goggles, binocular, 22 months from statement of need coming out of Korea to fielding, and it's in the field right now in Korea with 2nd Brigade of the 1st Infantry Division. And night vision goggles, not monocular, but binocular, is one of the key things, but the other key things are this is fused thermal. And so requires no ambient light. So it works in total darkness, and that was really the generation of the ONS for underground facilities to have some sort of night vision capability. The other key thing is the weapon sight that we're working on for the next generation squad weapon ports directly into the goggles. And so a soldier no longer has to bring a rifle to his shoulder. You see your sights through your goggles. And I'm sure I've got a couple Marines in the audience. We had a Marine at Fort Riley, Texas, or Fort Riley, Kansas, lay on his back and shoot 7 out of 10 targets at 100 meters with the weapon over the top of his head. So you can actually see around corners, you can actually fire your weapon through your goggles. Next step of that is the Integrated Visual Augmentation System, better known as IVAS, working with Microsoft in 3-week sprints. Soldiers touch this developmental program every 3 weeks and provide input directly back to the engineers. Same capability that I talked about with the enhanced night vision goggles, binocular in terms of the weapon, in addition to a translation capability, which has been demonstrated. I read a sign in Russian and the goggles translated it into English for you. Has language translation capability. It has a compass. If you look up, you see a ring compass. It shows you where you are, and it brings Blue Force tracker-like capability to the dismounted soldier. So you can see where everybody is around you. You can see key checkpoints, and you can actually plug in waypoints and navigate through the goggles. The goggles we talked about earlier about the size of an pair of Oakley sunglasses are going to be a little bit bigger than that. And this is one of the key parts of soldier-centered design. We were on a path to develop a set of goggles where you could see 600 meters. And when you want to see 600 meters, you have a very narrow field of vision. Anybody that's had a pair of night vision goggles on knows that's just the physics. And one of the soldier touch points, we had a young E4 say, "Why the hell do you think I need to see 600 meters?" And I said, "What would you rather have?" He said, "I'd rather have peripheral vision. I'd rather have situational awareness left and right." And we told him, he said, "Well, if we do that, you're only going to be able to see about 300 meters. And then, it's what generals get paid to do. It's like the kid says, well, I can see 600 meters through the sight you're giving me through my goggles. Why would I need to see 600 goggles through them?" If we'd just been our traditional path, we would have delivered a pair of goggles that soldiers would not have liked. And one of the key things, you've never seen this in a requirements document for IVAS, one of the key performance parameters we're building to is soldiers have to love it. And so this constant feedback from soldiers, this concept of soldier-centered design is something that we've kind of stumbled onto, but we're absolutely going to keep. Next generation squad weapon and automatic rifle, both chambered in 6.8. We started with not the bullet, but the effector. So just the thing that ends up at target and told industry, build us a rifle and an automatic rifle at the same time around this effector. And you can build the bullet. It can be cased metal, it can be cased polymer, it can be whatever it is you want that bullet to look like, but build us the rifle around this effector. And that was all about range and penetration. So we will more than double the effective range of the M4 and M16 rifle. And that will all happen in about 5 years. And then finally, soldier lethality, synthetic training environment. Just one world terrain is really the ability to go any place in the world and have virtual terrain. Any place in the world is a long stretch, and we are working towards that. But right now, in a lot of places in the world, soldiers can virtually go where they're going to execute a mission and rehearse on the actual terrain using, eventually, the IVAS goggles. And once again, that's in great demand and in great use by primarily by our special operators that are actually rehearsing on pieces of the terrain that is part of one world terrain. It takes 57 databases that we have for maps and gets it to one. It takes the time it takes to set up a virtual training environment from weeks to hours. The virtual collective trainers replacing the AVCAT and the CCTT with today's technology that the gaming industry has been using for years. and then eventually working on a miles replacement for our training centers, 1970s, 80s technology, the laser tag technology that will actually better replicate indirect fires. And really the whole goal of this, and we started off with Secretary Mattis about 4 years ago, is the ability for soldiers to go through 1,000 bloodless battles before they do it live for the first time. Anybody that's been deployed understands that your most critical and most dangerous time in theater is always the first 30 days and the last 30 days. The last 30 days because of complacency, and the first 30 days because we did not have the ability to do this virtually 1,000 times before you do it live for the first time. So that's a quick and really abbreviated rundown, and I got a light someplace. Where's my light? I think I'm still good. Okay, I'm good. So that's a quick rundown, and I'm going to talk really just a couple things. And I've mentioned this, the winning matters, but winning together matters more, and that's really across a lot of different areas. And that's our partnership with our soldiers, our partnership with ASALT, our partnership with Dr. Bruce Jetty and his team, the cross-functional team, PEO lash-up that we have going on. All that and all that material really supports multi-domain operations. And multi-domain operations, we're in the process right now of transitioning the concept to TRADOC. And so multi-domain operations will become doctrine at some point. We're probably a few years away from it becoming our doctrine, but I'm going to push AFC to start looking deeper. Multi-domain operations, our concept, you've heard a lot about the joint concept, which is under development and due to be delivered in December. It will be called, at least right now, it will be called Joint All-Domain Operations. Multi-domain operations is fundamentally the Army's contribution to Joint All-Domain Operations. And you've also heard things like the term JADC2, Joint All-Domain Command and Control. We are partnered across all the services on Joint All-Domain Command and Control, and really the joint staff, this joint architecture they're building out is critical. And it gets conflated all the time. Joint All-Domain Command and Control, arguing against that is like arguing against free parking in Washington, D.C. I mean, it just makes no sense to argue against any sensor, any shooter, any C2 network in near real time. So the Army is all in on Joint All-Domain Command and Control. We believe our contribution to Joint All-Domain Command and Control is this concept, and really it's a key tenet of multi-domain operations called convergence. And I fundamentally don't believe it's any sensor, any shooter, any C2 node. I believe it's all sensors, all shooters, all C2 nodes, and it's because it's all about the data. It's all about how you acquire, how you store, how you access, how you process AI-enabled data in near real time. And it's all about, the old principles never go away. It's all about Boyd's OODA loop. It's all about the ability to see first, understand first, and act first, faster than any adversary can ever act. And so you're going to see the Army doing some things here over the next couple of years, and you can call them experimentation, you can call them demonstrations, you can call them learning, which I prefer to call it learning experience, where we begin to connect more and more sensors and shooters from the bottom up. And the thing that's different about ground combat is right now in theater, we have thousands of sensors on the battlefield in a coin environment. In a future environment, that will be hundreds of thousands, if not millions of sensors. We got an old adage in the Army, every soldier is a sensor. In the future, not only every soldier, every platform, every robot, every munition is going to be a sensor that we're going to have to take advantage of. So how you acquire use those sensors, how you store that data, and it's going to be some sort of tactical cloud solution. Probably never get rid of servers, but some sort of cloud solution. How you make sense of that data through some sort of machine learning or artificial intelligence, and how you enable that OODA loop to be able to see, understand, and act faster than the opponent is what you're going to see the Army really plowing forward on here over the next few years. Probably start this fall at a very small scale and then continue to work and learn as we go. And we've actually already started in Europe. Mr. Willie Nelson, who runs my APNT CFT, with the 2nd SCR and with the 41st Fires in Europe, using LEO constellation, connecting LEO constellation sensors to shooters on the ground. Not yet in real time, but working through that to get us closer to that eventual end state. So convergence, key tenet of multi-domain operations, key tenet of the way we go forward. Initial start with integrated battle command system, RIBCS, where we're linking air defense sensors and air defense shooters, but that's good, but it's not sufficient. You're talking much larger scale than that. And people ask me all the time to explain that in plain English. If you look at air-land battle and synchronization, which was a key tenet of air-land battle, I equate that to football. So, series of plays with breaks in between, you can recall a new play, you go back and forth between offense and defense, you can sit on the bench and not pay much attention to what's going on until it's your time to play. And if you look at the Super Bowl, 60-minute game, there was about 14 and a half minutes worth of contact. Convergence in multi-domain operations is hockey. 60-minute game, 58 minutes of contact, always on both offense and defense. If you're on the bench, you better be paying attention. Even if you're injured and on the bench, you better be paying attention because you're going to get back into the game. Just constant synchronization on the ice. And so that's my plain English attempt at explaining the difference between synchronization and hockey in terms of what we're talking about, in terms of the fluidity, the lethality, and the speed of a future battlefield we're going to have to account for. And none of this is going to be easy. Everybody knows budgets are probably going to be flat. Budgets may be coming down. It's going to require the Army to continue to make hard decisions. I have told people consistently, we have made some hard decisions. The hard decisions are yet to be made as budgets flatten and begin to come down. And we're going to have to continue to prioritize. We're going to have to continue to accept prudent risk where the senior decision makers decide to take risk. And again, I'll just end this and hopefully save a little bit of time for a couple of questions. This is not about soldiers of my generation. This is about our kids and our grandkids. This is about getting it right for them, that they have the tools, the concepts, and the capabilities of really preserving our way of life as a nation. The challenges are out there, and the challenges are not going away. And so that's what makes this personal for me. I've got 8 grandkids, and I've got a 4-year-old granddaughter that 25 years from now, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind will be wearing a Ranger tab and be an Airborne Infantry Rifle Company commander. This is what that's about. And that's what gets me excited every day to come to work. That's what excites me about what's going on, what we've been able to achieve, and even more importantly, what we will achieve as one team, one fight, and winning together in the future. So with that, I'll stop. Thank you very much. Jim?
Sir, we've still got 5 minutes for Q&A.
Okay, I'm good.
I've been told to avoid the speaker. There you go, sir. Oh, sir, go ahead, Arlen.
General, I'm Harlan Ullman. Thank you for your comments. You list a dazzling array of technologies. How do we expect to fight with allies in interoperability? Because there appears to be few allies who have the money, the resources to do this.
So interoperability is an interesting concept, and I get pushed all the time on this. So I fundamentally, so there's key things that we've got to bring the allies along with. So MPE, I can't remember what MPE stands for now, but between Iraq, Afghanistan, Kosovo, other places we've been in the last 20, 30 years, we have built mission command networks specifically for that coalition environment. MPE is the coalition environment that we're building out that will be applicable to every theater. Now, we've got to get buy-in from the combatant commanders and a lot of other people. So communications, at least from a digital standpoint, that's the key. The network, 4 lines of effort. One of the lines of effort is interoperability. So from the ground, we were building our network to be at certain classification levels interoperable with our closest allies and partners, not necessarily every ally and partner. And then I think the other thing about interoperability that a lot of people, too many people discount is the ability to just work together. So exercises like Defender 20 coming up this year, largest deployment to Europe in 25 years. If you go back and you look at history of Reforger, this is the 4th largest deployment to include all the Reforgers. And just the ability to, the rotational, the heel-toe brigades rotating into both Korea and into Europe. And so I think trust and confidence and familiarity are huge interoperability tools in addition to the networks. Fires is probably the most critical one. We're demonstrating the ability to digitally pass targets between key partners and allies. And then there is a significant amount of interest in some of the technology we work in and sharing that technology. Thank you.
Sir? A fast question on the logistics to the battlefield and electronic warfare. You have all the troops out there with all their batteries and all that. How do you keep the log trail going and logistics to make sure they're supplied?
So one of the things that is a key driver of IBAS is, and it came out of one of our labs up at Aberdeen Proving Ground, it's the conformal battery. So it's because, I mean, soldiers carry way too many batteries. So one of the efforts we're working on with the University of Texas is next generation energy storage, and we got to move fast. So the recent Nobel laureate, Dr. Goodenough, just happens to be a professor at the University of Texas, so he's helping us with that. And we got to move fast because he's 97. But the conformal battery is batteries that are lightweight that soldier can wear. It gives them 12 hours worth of battery, and then we're beginning to look at offloading. So the ability to recharge batteries. So the infantry squad vehicle has the ability to recharge batteries, but batteries, fossil fuel, and that's the other huge logistics thing. We've got to figure out a way to electrify as best we possibly can, probably never 100%, but electrification of our formations. I can hear you.
All right. Question about the new trucks and the longer range missiles and what you're doing with fires. Access to the Allies in the Pacific as well as road networks. How dependent are you on prepared road networks versus off of some of these larger, heavier systems?
You get to things like hypersonics here. I mean, that's a big platform, so they're going to be more dependent. MLRS is PRISM, so it's a tracked vehicle. It's a little bit more mobile, and the HIMARS platform. So those are off-road capable. URCA is a normal Paladin chassis, so that's a track chassis. So besides hypersonics, I think we're just as mobile as ever been. And you're right, we got to look. People all the time say, we're focused on either Europe or we're focused on Pacific. I can't build an army that's focused on a specific theater. So we look generally across a lot of different types of terrains and geography. To make sure that we're building capability that's applicable in more than one place.
Murray, on behalf of Jim McAleese, we want to thank you very, very much. What a great way to start off the morning. But I want to keep you on time because I've been asked by your holders to do that.
My chief's waiting on me.